Welcome to part 6 of my Football Manager 2015 experiment, where I swapped the Barclays Premier League with the Vanarama Conference North and South, and all the other divisions were muddled up as well. In part 5, I just did a usual 3 season updates, make sure you check that out, and also parts 4, 3, 2, 1 as well if you haven't watched anything and don't know what the hell this video is about. In part 5 I said I'm happy to do another 10 seasons, I agreed to do that, and I'm just going to give you an update of who's won what over the last few years. Now if you want a part 7, where I would holiday another 10 years, make sure you hit the like button. If this video gets to 150 likes, then I will do a part 7, and we will probably finish it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down the divisions and show you who's won everything over the past few years in the Champions League, etc., that sort of thing, so we can see what's been going on. It's 2037, so it's a long way in to the game since we changed it up. So as you can see, Bromley and Woolstone are all the way down there in the Conference South again, along with a few other teams that started in the top division. So that's a bit of a shame. In fact, I don't think there's... I mean, Cheltenham are down there. Are there any other league teams in there? Stevenage, I guess. But there's no surprises there. Let's look at the last few years and who's won it, who's finished runners-up and third place, playoff winners, etc. So since 2027, when Cardiff won it, we've had Luton, Gillingham, Bristol City, Luton, Swindon, Bishop Stortford, Yeovil, Bromley, Eastbourne Borough and Bromley again winning the league. The playoff winners have been, since Reading, Stevenage, Bishop Stortford, Weston-super-Mare, MK Dons, Cheltenham, Bromley, Havant and Waterloo, Leyton Orient, Maidenhead and Wealdstone. It's a shame to see Wealdstone drop all that way because they did very well in the first few years. In fact, they got relegated from the Premier League in 2022-23, which is 15 years ago now. Then spent a few years in the Championship, managed to get promoted back up, but since then have really plummeted drastically down the leagues, unfortunately, because obviously they had a good early part. Let's see what they won. Just out of interest, they were runners-up in the Premier League in 2015, of course, that first season. They were runners-up in League One. They got promoted, obviously, back to the Championship. FA Cup, they won in 2018. So to see an FA Cup winner back down there is crazy. They also won the Capital One Cup the same year. They won the Cup double, of course. So it's been a big drop for them since then. So that is a shame, really, to go back to where they started. But it took a while for them to get back down there. They had, and they've gone back up to the Conference Premier, so you never know what's going to happen. Reputation-wise, it went back up to 114th and dropped off over the last year. So the Conference North was won by Blackpool, so they've been stuck down there a hell of a long time. Which other teams are surprise packages in there? I suppose Carlisle, Fleetwood, Oldham, Tranmere, Rotherham are all league teams. Rotherham, I think, have stayed down there the whole time. Yeah, they've been in the Conference Premier, but have been relegated back to the Conference North. I think Tranmere really have plummeted, but then spent many years. The highest they've been is League One anyway, and then they have dropped down for the last few years. So as you can see, there's been a bit more of a mixed bag in terms of the winners of the Conference North compared with the Conference South. We've got Blackpool, Rotherham, Coventry, Bolton, Hull, Preston, Leeds, Blackpool, Peterborough. You know, some big teams in there winning that down there. And playoff winners, a bit more mixed as well. You've got Leamington Spa in there, Grimsby, Scunthorpe, Crewe. So there really is a bit more of a mix in the Conference North, I think, which is, I don't know, quite interesting geographically maybe. Let's go up to the Conference Premier, which was just won by Leeds. So they've been stuck down there a while and have gone back up to the Football League. I don't know if they have been in the Football League since the start of this series. As an ambulance just flies by my window. No, they've been stuck down there the whole time. They've not been out of the conference. But they have now. There you go. 1.5 star reputation. They've been murdered, even more so than in real life. Whitehawk down there, obviously they were very successful at the start of this series, winning the league. They had money, and I don't know what's happened to them. Maybe they just haven't spent the money wisely. They of course had Champions League money. They won the league twice, finishing in the top 4 regularly. Eventually started to drop. Eventually got relegated at the end of the last video, of course. Spent a few years in the Championship, 3 years in League 1, 1 year in League 2. Down they went. Now they're in the conference. What has happened? I don't know. Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, facilities wise, everything's pretty poor now. They've got a 19,000 seater stadium, of course, down there in the Championship. Maybe they just couldn't attract a big crowd. Fans weren't flocking to them. And eventually they dropped off. I don't know, it's strange, but they won the league. They won many things. And to actually be in the conference a few years later is crazy. It's unheard of, in fact. So let's look at the previous winners of the conference. That's a mix as well. Recently, I guess Middlesbrough, Norwich, mainly bigger league teams winning it, going back up to the Football League eventually, as it has been the whole time really. Let's go up to League 2 then. Recently won by West Brom, Bradford, Shrewsbury and Charlton also going up. But let's look at the previous winners. You can pause this of course and have a look. Since the last video where West Ham won it in the last season, we've seen Chester winning it, check QPR, Dagenham and Redbridge, we've got Burnley, Ipswich, West Brom, Brentford up there. Some good runners up as well. Solihull Moors was in the last video of course, but Harrogate going up. Really good, interesting stuff, isn't it? Chester have gone down to the conference now though. They must have dropped down a couple when they did get promoted. Yeah, relegated this season as well. It's a shame. Probably some really interesting stories in who's manager of various teams now. Obviously these are all regions now. There's not any real players around in 2037. You'd be very old if that was the case. Or maybe a player born in 2000, 16-year-old when the game could be 38 now, possibly still around, I don't know. Oxford and Portsmouth getting promoted from League 1, and Swansea as well. Wigan going down to League 2. Let's look at the last few winners. Nice mix of teams. West Ham, Northampton, QPR, Eastleigh, you know, one of the lower down teams. Oxford as well. Who else? Wealdstone were promoted and went back down, of course, all the way down. Chorley up there. Concord Rangers doing pretty well there last season. It's fantastic, really. It really is. Let's get up to the Championship then. Sutton United going back up to the Premier League. So obviously they've been relegated at some point. Torquay and Eastleigh going up. So they've had a bit of a decline and they've suddenly risen again. 3-star reputation. It really is interesting how these teams are really yo-yoing. It happens in real life, of course. Southampton and Norwich both went down to League 1, promoted in 2 successive seasons back up to the Premier League. It happens. But with these teams, it's you wouldn't expect it quite the same because, you know, they've got less force behind them, less money, a bit smaller fan base. I got Sheffield United winning it 3 times. They've really been a yo-yo team from the Championship to the Premier League, obviously. Have going up. Like the Southend going up to the Premier League, back up. They've spent a bit of time there, of course, we've seen in previous episodes. Torquay has spent quite a bit of time in the Premier League, going up this year, of course. West Ham, playoff winners, Fulham, Stoke. Huddersfield, Concord Rangers, and Hazen Yedding. See, another big team. Well, a small team, obviously, in real life, but a team that spent a lot of time in the Premier League, up until recently, in fact, 2030-31. They even finished 8th in 2028-29 season, but going down to the Championship and have now been relegated from the Championship. That's a shame, because of course they've won a lot as well. I guess if we do holiday another 10 years, if I get 150 likes on this video, then maybe they will be another team that drops all the way down like Whitehawk. Sad to see Whitehawk in the conference, really. Maybe they'll go back up again at some point with that history behind them now. So the Premier League this year was won by Man United, but look at that, Newcastle. Shouldn't sound too surprised, but it is surprising. But the best story of all, AFC Fylde, defying all odds to win the league in 2030, considering the previous unusual winner was back in 2019 with Hyde. AFC Fylde, well done. They've even finished twice recently as well. That is absolutely fantastic. Oxford City finished in second, of course, in their last video, but since then it's only been AFC Fylde featuring as an unusual team up there. That is fantastic from them. Of course, they were relegated a couple of times to the Championship, but they've obviously been productive with their money. 4-star reputation, they are rich. Let's look at their facilities. They've got only 11,000 seat stadium. It has been reduced currently, so obviously they've got some money behind them to increase their stadium size. I wonder how much by. 2,759, not huge, but obviously they're playing in the Champions League at the moment and probably want to get up there. I mean, Blackpool's one of their feeder teams. Northampton as well. It is so fascinating. It really is, some of the stuff in this. Look at their manager, Benjamin Deere. Obviously a lot of he is terrible. Why is he manager of AFC Fylde, who won the league recently? He's a captain. He's a good player. 121 caps for Japan. What a hero. Kazuya Takahashi. Great player, great name. I like him. Shout out to Kazuya Takahashi in the comment section below. Okay, let's go up. Where are we going now? I don't know. I suppose we'll look at the FA Cup. Let's just look at some of the other teams in here. So Sheffield United finishing 6th, Plymouth are up there, Tottenham and Chelsea mid-table, Sunderland. I mean, Chelsea haven't won it for a while. What's happened to them? They're still rich. Ronnie Della in charge. Curious. Liverpool down in 12th, Southampton there. Hartlepool, Gosport have done well, haven't they? They've been relegated a couple of times, but since then have been solid in the Premier League. Well done to Gosport. Not too far away from me. West Ham getting relegated. They had a slow growth. They've been solid, haven't they? That's their first relegation ever on this save. And they're back down to the Championship after 3 decent seasons in the Premier League. Raheem Sterling is in charge of West Ham United. That is brilliant. That really is. You know you're addicted to Football Manager when Raheem Sterling is in charge of West Ham United. That's how far you've been playing. Of course I haven't actually played on this, but still. If you actually saw that in a real save. Shane Duffy in charge of Brighton. Who's in charge of Man United? It can't still be Zidane, surely. No, it's Scott Sinclair is in charge of Manchester United. What is going on there? That is just... I mean, you never know. Maybe he will be a manager one day. Let's look at some of these other teams then. Frank Lampard in charge of Newcastle. He's been around a bit, I think. Let's look at his career. Overview. Where do we want to go? Achievements, that's what we want to do. So he's been a manager of big teams like Willstone and Brackley, but they were up there at one point. Gosport, Man United, Chelsea and Newcastle. That is incredible, really. Wow. Why have AFC Fylde got some useless prune in charge? Joe Rawls in charge of Man City. Arsenal, who do they have? Scott Carson's in charge of Arsenal. Some of these managers are just brilliant, aren't they? I suppose these players are maybe going to become good managers one day, but who'd have thought Scott Sinclair and Raheem Sterling? To be honest, that really is random. Liverpool manager is Charlie Allen, but that's a different Charlie Allen, isn't it? He looks different. That's spelt different. Who am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of someone else. This is someone else. I've got confused with someone, I think. I've got confused with Charlie Adam. That's who I've got confused with. Charlie Allen is obviously some other dude. Let's go to the FA Cup. So, Gosport winning it. Man United won this year against Boreham Wood in the final. Where are Boreham Wood anyway? They're in the Championship, so that's pretty good to be able to get to the final. So in recent years, Torquay won it in 2028, beating Gosport in the final. Arsenal beat Gosport that final. Gosport finally won it in 2031 against Liverpool in the final. Hartlepool got to the final. Boreham Wood, of course, we've seen, but Arsenal won it 4 times in recent years. They've been the dominant force recently in that cup competition. Let's go down to the Capital One Cup, which was also won by Gosport this year. They've been a good cup team recently, beating Newcastle in the final. They also got to the final last year. AFC Fylde won it in 2031 against Hartlepool. Gosport won it that year as well in 2028 against Oxford City. Yeah, wow, brilliant. That's what I like to see. So Community Shield was won by Newcastle against Man United. Arsenal have dominated in recent years. Johnston Paint Trophy was won by Halifax against West Brom. Wycombe have won it twice. They're the standout team there. Interesting. Let's go down to, this is the FA Trophy, which has had a mix of teams winning, but generally some big teams up there. Bury beating Hull in the last final. Let's look at the Champions League then. So Man United have won the final just now against PSG. So they're the first English team to win it for years and years, since Chelsea in 2012, I think. Let's go up. Yeah, indeed. First English winner of the Champions League for 25 years. That is a long old wait, isn't it? It was played at Wembley. Maybe that was an advantage. Euro Cup final, Moscow beat Man City 4-1 in the final. Man United actually won it last year, so they've won it twice. Then Gosport won it against Roma. I've got far too excited there, but well done to Gosport. You've done phenomenally well in the last few years. They really have. What do we want to look at? History overview. Landmarks. Let's go to that. This is what we want to look at. So they won the Euro Cup, of course. Euro Super Cup as well. Won the Championship. The FA Cup, of course. The Capital One Cup twice. They really have been very good since the last video. Well done to Gosport. If there's any Gosport fans watching this, well done. All the way back we go. So, yeah. Amazing. AFC Fylde got to the final twice as well. Only just missing out. Unlucky. So AFC Fylde and Gosport, despite not having the best starts compared to the likes of Whitehawk and Hayes and Yedding, long term they have benefited the most. Maybe the early successes of Whitehawk, Hayes and Yedding, Bournemouth, those sort of teams, maybe it has made them a bit complacent. I don't know, because they've got relegated all the way back down, some of them. Bournemouth in the Championships are not too bad. But some of the teams have really struggled, whereas AFC Fylde and Gosport have really benefited long term and won competitions recently, which is brilliant to see. Let's look at the England team. Who's in charge? Surely not Mancini now, he's on the Zimmer frame by now. Carl Robinson is in charge. Major clubs in England: Man United, AFC Fylde, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City and Sunderland. Well done AFC Fylde. Let's look at the players and which sort of clubs are represented. Here we go. Gosport have a player in there. Just the usual teams generally. You've got Sheffield United player, another Gosport player, a couple of an AFC Fylde player, AS Monaco player, Sheffield United. Who are the top players? Let's look at the top player in England. It's Jordan Smith, playing for Liverpool. Defensive midfielder, 7th in the world. Let's look at the club coefficients and that sort of thing now. Competitions wise, Serie A is top, ahead of the Barclays Premier League. World Cup is of course top, as you'd expect. Recent winner, Italy in 2034, Brazil in 2030. This is the European Championship, which has been won by Holland, Germany and Germany in recent years. Clubs then, let's look. Finances wise, Arsenal top, 1.24 billion. Then Man United, Chelsea. We've got AFC Fylde in 17th place worth £380 million. That is excellent to see. Three Saudi Arabian teams up there now. West Ham still up there, Sunderland as well, Brighton, Norwich, Plymouth. Gosport are 51st in the world, doing very well in winning competitions, of course. These are the European club coefficients. Juventus are top, Arsenal down in 7th, that's the highest English team. Man United, got Chelsea, AFC Fylde up in 12th, that is brilliant. Who else? Newcastle, Man City, Liverpool down there. Who else are down here? We've got Southampton, Sunderland, Gosport in 77th. Crystal Palace, Birmingham, and there are lots of English teams. A real mix of teams, because Wealdstone, of course, very low down, but they're 107th in the world, and Hayes and Yeading. Because, you know, in recent years, they've done okay previous to this, and eventually are dropping off, and they will go down. But look at all those English teams, really level. It's really messed with the club coefficients by the looks of things, because there's just a real mix of teams in various divisions there. So I think that wraps things up for this video. Thank you for watching this part 6. It's been a marathon, I know. And if you want a part 7, I'm really happy to do one. But if it gets 150 likes, that shows me that there's enough interest in it for me to do another video. So hit that like button if you want another one. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I'm going to be doing similar FM experiments to this and other videos as well you can check out. And I shall see you shortly.